A little girl's battle for survival brought a Hollywood legend to her lemonade stand. What he did next changed everything. The summer sun bore down on the small suburban neighborhood as 8-year-old Emily set up her makeshift lemonade stand. Her blonde hair, now thinned from rounds of chemotherapy, peeked out from under a colorful cap adorned with daisies. Despite her frail frame, Emily radiated determination, a spark in her eyes that belied the hardships she faced. Diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia, Emily had spent the last year in and out of hospitals. Her family's savings had dwindled, leaving them struggling to afford her mounting medical bills. Emily, however, refused to let the weight of her illness extinguish her spirit. Inspired by stories of others who had overcome adversity, she came up with a plan. With her mother's hesitant blessing, Emily decided to sell lemonade outside their home to raise money for her treatments. "Every penny helps," she would say, flashing her infectious smile. The stand was simple, just a folding table, a handwritten sign, and a large glass pitcher of freshly squeezed lemonade. Her older brother, Jake, helped her set up, placing a jar labeled Emily's Chemo Fund prominently on the table. Neighbors stopped by to support her, each buying a cup and offering words of encouragement. Some donated extra, moved by her bravery. As the day wore on, Emily grew more tired, but she refused to stop. "Mom, every dollar I make is a step closer to getting better," she said, her voice tinged with both hope and exhaustion. Passers-by slowed their cars to read her sign, and many pulled over to contribute. Each transaction brought a smile to Emily's face, but the journey was still uphill. Around midday, a sleek black SUV pulled up. Out stepped a man with an unmistakable presence, tall, weathered, and ruggedly handsome, yet approachable. Dressed casually, he looked around before his piercing eyes landed on Emily's stand. What happened next would leave everyone watching in awe. The man approached the stand with a calm but deliberate stride. Emily, who had been pouring lemonade for a neighbor, looked up and froze. Her brother Jake whispered, "Isn't that Clint Eastwood?" Emily didn't recognize him, but the way others stopped in their tracks made her realize he was someone important. Clint reached the stand, his eyes softening as he read the sign. "Emily's Chemo Fund. Every cup helps." "How's the lemonade?" he asked with a warm smile. Emily, nervous but determined, replied, "It's the best lemonade you'll ever taste, sir." Her voice wavered slightly, but the resolve in her eyes made Clint smile even more. He chuckled and pulled out a $20 bill, placing it on the table. "I'll take a cup," he said. Jake quickly poured him a glass, his hands shaking slightly. Clint took a sip, then let out an exaggerated, "Ah!" which made Emily laugh. "You're right. This might just be the best lemonade I've ever had," he said. Emily beamed. "Thank you so much. Every dollar goes to my chemo treatments," she explained, her voice filled with pride. Clint's smile faded slightly as the gravity of her situation hit him. He knelt down to her eye level and asked, "How long have you been doing this, sweetheart?" Emily shrugged. "A few weeks. We need a lot of money, but I'm going to keep trying. My mom says I'm brave, but I just want to get better." Her innocence and determination struck a chord with Clint. By now, a small crowd had gathered, whispering and pointing at the unexpected celebrity. But Clint wasn't paying attention to them. His focus remained on Emily. "You are brave," he said, his voice steady. "Not many people your age would do something like this." Emily's mother, who had been watching from the porch, walked over, concerned but curious. "Hi, I'm Sarah," she introduced herself, shaking Clint's hand. "Thank you for supporting Emily's stand." Clint stood and turned to Sarah, his expression serious. "Your daughter has an incredible spirit," he said. "She's inspiring people more than she knows." He paused, looking back at the sign, then at Emily. "You keep selling your lemonade today, okay? I'll be back in a little while." Before they could ask what he meant, Clint got back into his SUV and drove off, leaving the family and the crowd in a swirl of curiosity and anticipation. No one could have guessed the remarkable chain of events he had just set in motion. Hours passed since Clint Eastwood's unexpected visit, and Emily continued serving lemonade with renewed energy. The thought of someone so famous showing interest in her little stand made her feel special. Customers trickled in steadily, and every time she poured a cup, she whispered to herself, "One step closer to getting better." But her mind kept wandering back to Clint's cryptic parting words. "I'll be back." What did he mean? Emily's brother, Jake, speculated wildly. Maybe he's bringing cameras or a movie crew. Sarah, their mother, laughed nervously, though part of her wondered if Jake might be onto something. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, an unmistakable sound broke the quiet, the low rumble of an engine. Emily squinted down the road and gasped. A caravan of black SUVs, shiny and imposing, rolled into view. Cars began to pull over to see what was happening. The first SUV came to a halt, and out stepped Clint Eastwood, looking as composed as ever. But he wasn't alone. Following him were several well-dressed individuals carrying boxes and envelopes. The crowd that had gathered earlier began murmuring with curiosity. Clint walked straight up to Emily, who was now frozen in place, her eyes wide. "I told you I'd be back," he said with a kind smile. He motioned to one of the people behind him, who handed him a large, sealed envelope. "Emily," Clint began, crouching down to her level again, "you've got a strong heart and an incredible drive. That's something rare. So my friends and I decided we wanted to help you out." He handed her the envelope, which she clutched with trembling hands. Her mother quickly stepped in to help her open it, revealing a cashier's check for $250,000. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause, but Emily stood stunned, unable to comprehend the amount. "That's not all," Clint continued, nodding toward the other people behind him. They began unloading boxes labeled with medical supplies and care kits. "I called a few friends in the healthcare world, and we've arranged for you to get the best treatment available. You don't have to worry about medical bills anymore." Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she hugged her daughter tightly. "Thank you," she managed to say, her voice breaking. Emily, still in shock, looked up at Clint and said, "Why would you do all this for me?" Clint smiled, his voice steady and kind. "Because sometimes the smallest voices remind us what really matters. You've already inspired so many people, Emily, and it's the least I can do to help you keep going." As the crowd cheered louder, Emily's lemonade stand transformed into a symbol of hope. Clint's generous gesture didn't just change Emily's life. It inspired everyone watching to believe in the power of kindness and community. But there was still one more surprise in store. Clint wasn't quite finished yet. The days following Clint Eastwood's incredible gesture were nothing short of extraordinary. News of his act of kindness spread like wildfire. Emily's lemonade stand became a nationwide symbol of resilience and hope, with media outlets clamoring to share her story. Interviews poured in, and donations from strangers across the country began flooding Sarah's mailbox. The family's modest front yard, where the lemonade stand once stood, now buzzed with visitors. Some came to support Emily's battle, others to see where the heartwarming story unfolded. Volunteers helped manage the overwhelming generosity, and a local carpenter even built Emily a larger, sturdier lemonade stand engraved with her name. But the most remarkable change was in Emily herself. Her once shy and reserved demeanor began to fade. She spoke with confidence during interviews, thanking everyone who helped her. "It's not just about me," she said in one interview. "It's about showing everyone that no matter how tough things get, you can always fight back with hope." Clint Eastwood, true to his word, continued to check in on the family. A week after his initial visit, he invited Emily and her family to a movie set in Los Angeles. For a girl who had spent much of her time in hospitals and doctors' offices, stepping into the glamorous world of Hollywood felt like a dream. She even got to call action during a scene Clint was directing. The highlight of their visit came during a special dinner Clint hosted in her honor. Surrounded by his closest friends and Hollywood stars, Clint raised a toast. "Here's to Emily, a reminder that bravery doesn't come from age or fame, but from heart. She's taught us all something today." Emily's battle with leukemia was far from over, but the financial burden that once loomed over her family was gone. Her treatments, now fully covered, showed promising results. As months passed, her health began to improve, and she started dreaming of a future where she could help other kids facing similar challenges. Inspired by Clint's kindness, Emily launched a charity called Emily's Hope to raise funds for children with critical illnesses. With the lemonade stand as its symbol, her charity quickly gained traction, helping dozens of families across the country. Years later, at one of her charity's events, a now healthy Emily stood before a crowd and shared her story. She concluded with words that left the audience in tears. "One act of kindness can ripple through so many lives. I'm living proof of that. And I'll never forget the day Clint Eastwood stopped by my lemonade stand and changed everything." Clint, seated in the front row, smiled as he watched her speak. For him, it was never about the spotlight or recognition. It was about doing the right thing. And as Emily hugged him on stage, the world saw the incredible power of compassion and how it can transform lives in the most unexpected ways.